So, Pokemon isn't necessarily a hard game series. I mean, most of the games in the series are easier than the easiest Mario game, but there are some games in the series that stick out from the rest because of their difficulty. Today's video, I'll be going over the hardest Pokemon games, with that being Pokemon Platinum, Pokemon Emerald, Black 2, and Ultra Sun and Moon. I'll be going over the hardest Pokemon games, explain why they're so hard compared to the rest of the series, and at the end of the video, we'll determine what Pokemon game is truly the hardest. So first on our list is Pokemon Platinum. Now, Diamond and Pearl were games that had their moments when it came to difficulty, but overall, a relatively easy Pokemon game. Now, Platinum ramps that difficulty up a bit, while not intentionally. The thing with Pokemon in general is that the more viable Pokemon you have, your opponents are going to use them one way or another. This is why Diamond and Pearl have a lower power level. Everyone was busy using Kadabras and Golbats, but if you're an average player, there are random trainers that can generally catch you off guard, especially in Victory Road. But I do want to highlight 3 sections of the game that give Platinum its difficulty. Now, first up is Fantina, who is the 3rd gym leader in this game compared to being the 5th in Diamond and Pearl. What makes her battle so hard is her Miss Mages. With 105 special attack and stab Shadow Ball, you're basically getting 2-shot most of the time if you're lucky. And she also has Psybeam and Magical Leaf for Pokemon like Crobat and Bibarel, which have a good matchup in this gym compared to most. Oh yeah, and she also has Confuse Ray just to make this fight even more annoying. Next up we have Cyrus in the Distortion Roll, which is basically his team from Diamond and Pearl Spear Pillar battle, but he just has 1 extra Mon. This fight was already not easy in Diamond and Pearl, but the extra Mon kind of pushes it to the edge. And of course we have the Elite Four. Now it's often discussed whether the Elite Four in Diamond and Pearl was harder due to the higher levels, but TLDR, it's because you are underleveled. Platinum has the objectively better Elite Four. Actual bug types from Aaron, actual fire types from Ronald McDonald, a Gallade from Lucian to be dark types, and they gave Cynthia a Togekiss to not have any type overlap on her team. Like, come on now, the Diamond and Pearl Elite Four does not even compare. So in conclusion, Pokemon Platinum is a game with its moderate difficulty, but definitely has its fair share of truly difficult battles. And I can also say the same about Pokemon Emerald. Now, Pokemon Emerald is an inverse to Platinum in a way. While the normal trainers don't bear much of an issue, the boss fights pose an actual challenge. First up is Watson with a self-destructing Voltorb, which was basically a 500 base power move because blow-up moves have your defense in Gen 3. Oh, and he also has 2 powerhouse Pokemon that evolved before they could do it legally. There's also Flannery with a White Herb Torkoal that can spam powerful overheats twice. And just don't hope she doesn't set up Sun either. Norman has a Belly Drum Linoon. Okay, well, Nona is actually easier here, despite her having 5 Mons here. Then there's Tate and Liza, which in my opinion is the hardest gym fight in any Pokemon game. Yeah, this fight alone brings up Emerald in discussion as one of the hardest games in the franchise. But like I said before, everything else seems easier. All the trainers are easier, and the Elite Four in this game are pushovers compared to the Sinnoh Elite Four, including Wallace, which if you have a good grass or electric type, then you should not be losing this fight. So yeah, Pokemon Emerald is a game that is known for its harder gym battles in the series, but everything else is kind of a cakewalk in comparison. But do you know what is a cakewalk? You subscribing to the channel. It's that easy. Only 3% of my viewers are actually subscribed, so if you do subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Do you like the color black? Because today we are going to look at Black 2. Not Black and White 2, just Black 2. Let me explain. So Game Freak had something called Challenge Mode, which was unlocked by the memory link, and you unlock Challenge Mode by beating the game for the first time. What Challenge Mode did was the Pokemon's levels would get up by a few, and they would give gym leaders at least 1 more Pokemon. Plus, most of their Pokemon, if not all their Pokemon, would have held items. Something I also have to point out is that Challenge Mode, even though the opponent's Pokemon's levels get raised, their stats actually don't correlate, so essentially they have stats of a lower level Pokemon. But this oversight doesn't really take away the game's difficulty though. In my personal opinion, there is no fight that really stands out in Black 2 other than the champion fight, maybe. But that's okay because Black 2 actually has the most steady difficulty curve in the entire series. The other fights seem relatively difficult too as well, especially since there's a time where Pokemon having held items in the main campaign of the game was unheard of. Black 2 has consistent difficulty throughout the game, but how does that compare to our next game though? Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon are very interesting games. Now this game is definitely my least played and I don't really know much about it, but I'll try my best. From what I could tell, this game has a lot of tough battles, from most boss trainers and even totem Pokemon being EVing trained, which at the time was also unheard of. EVs on trainer Pokemon was only really relegated to the battle facilities at that point. So saying boss Pokemon in the main campaign having EVs was insane. Not to mention some of the totem Pokemon were even harder to fight than the ones in Sun and Moon. Then the game reaches a dramatic difficulty spike with Ultra Necrozma, a Pokemon with a higher BST than God itself, and with an Omni boost on top of that before you even fight the Elite Four. In fact, it was so hard, one of the only consistent ways to actually beat it was to just tease it using a Zoroark and its illusion ability baiting Photon Geyser. But the only issue with Ultra Sun and Moon's difficulty is the fact that most other normal trainers in the game don't really stick out at all that much. It's only really the bosses with EV trained Pokemon, the totem Pokemon, and the dramatic spike with Ultra Necrozma with Ultra Sun and Moon's claim to fame, so it kind of balances out. I'd honestly say the Elite Four on average when you compare it to the Elite Four in Platinum and Black 2's challenge mode is easier, but still, Ultra Necrozma alone makes this game harder than most Pokemon games. So we covered all the hard Pokemon games, but which one is actually the hardest? So in last place we have Emerald. Emerald has some good gym fights, but that's the only thing it has really going for it. In third place we have Platinum. Platinum's dex really helps the boss trainers utilize better Pokemon more, has less fights that make it stand out, but compared to the rest of the game, it isn't a complete cakewalk either. In second place, we have Black 2. It has good difficulty throughout the entire game, but my only issue is that there aren't really any fights that truly stick out aside from maybe the champion fight. But the fact that this game has challenge mode in the first place is a good indicator that Black 2 is one of the hardest Pokemon games in the series. And finally, at first place is Ultra Sun and Moon. The boss trainers and totem Pokemon outweigh the lack of sauce the normal trainers have. Also Ultra Necrozma. I don't really need to clarify more, but some people may argue that Ultra Sun and Moon is easier due to the EXP share, but I'm here to tell you that I don't care about that. In these videos, I always assume you're fighting the boss trainers at an equal level, and with that, Ultra Sun gets the edge here. Even most pro Nuzlockers say that Ultra Sun is the hardest vanilla main series Pokemon game. And that's what I'm saying here too. Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon are the hardest main series Pokemon games to ever exist. And yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below what do you guys think is the hardest Pokemon game. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.